All right, guys, welcome back. In this video, I just kind of want to go over the ins and outs of the Z Automotive TranZformer. If you've been following along, I did a two-part series on how to do paddle shifters in 05 to 10 LX Dodges, but I just wanted to show a little bit of the functions of the TranZformer, mainly how to adjust shift pressures and stuff like that, and then we'll go over the fun stuff. Now, there's three ways to do the shift pressures. Easiest way, through a laptop, through the ZPU utility that you can get from the website. You can also adjust the shift pressures through the steering wheel and through the dash display. It's a little trickier just because not everything is laid out on one screen like the software is. So that's the way I'm going to show you. Now they offer software for Macs and Windows, but the Mac version, you cannot adjust the shift pressures with the TranZformer. So you're going to need the Windows version to do it. So let's get into it. Okay, the TranZformer does come with a USB cable, and I've got it connected to the unit behind the dash panel here. And whenever you're not using it, you can just stuff it up under the dash there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I got the USB plugged in. We're going to turn the car on, the ignition on, and once we do that, we're going to open our programming utility. Okay, down here at configure, I'll click that, and there we go. Now I have noticed if you open the software first and then turn ignition on, it doesn't seem to want to bring this up or connect. So USB first, ignition on, then start your software. Okay, these are the default settings. You see here, drive shift strength, and then separately we have auto stick strength. So we'll start with drive shift first. This box is accelerating and decelerating over here. Down here is your pressure increase. 1-2 shift, 2-3 shift, 3-4 shift, 4-5 shift, and then the same going down for decelerating. Down here is scaling. Now, to explain this, say we got 1-2 shift here. 40 is our shift strength. Basically what the scaling does is if you move it down here, this would be the easiest way to explain it. Full scaling would be at 0 throttle, you would have 0% of this 40 here. As you increase throttle, you will increase to this number. So 0 throttle, 0% of 40. Full throttle, you'll have 100% of 40. If you move this up, scaling, so now we're at 20%. So at 0 throttle, you'll have 20% of the 40. So basically what it's going to do is you'll start with more pressure at 0 throttle. Now me personally, I like full scaling. So easy pedal means less of this shift pressure. As I increase the throttle, I get more of this. And then once I reach full throttle, I get all of this 40 here. So hopefully that makes sense. I see a lot of people asking what scaling means. So you could have, for your auto stick, maybe you want more of that initial pressure, and maybe you want 10% of the 75 here, just to make it more aggressive in auto stick. So I'll show you what I have. I'll go down here, read values, and this is what I have set in mine. Now, I'll say my car has a tune already from BFNY, and the first to second gear shift was already pretty firm. So I've actually lowered a little bit my first to second, and then I actually raised the rest of my gears. And downshift, same thing. First to second, I actually lowered, and then these are 15. And I have full scaling because I like to be able to control how much of this pressure I get whenever I want. So if I want to drive nice and easy, it almost feels stuck until I start giving it more throttle. Then I get more of this pressure down here. So you can see my auto stick, I have 70, 85, 85, 85 for the gear shifts. My just regular drive, less. So that in drive, it's much more tame. Same thing with the downshifts. Now, one thing I want to know about downshifts. So if we go down here to defaults, let me show you something I noticed. Default downshifts in auto stick, we have 20. I can tell you the first to second at 20 is extreme. It would bark the tires downshifting first to second on dry pavement. So something you want to keep in your mind. If you daily drive your car and you like to drive an auto stick and you're driving in the rain and you downshift second to first in the rain, you could kick the rear end out because it'll lock the tires for a second. Something to keep in mind. So obviously here you have enable shift kit. You can turn this on and off with the ESP button. 2 presses is off, 2 presses back on. Auto upshift. Okay, so this is default 6 grand. I left it there. If you try to increase this and you do not have the rev limiter increased, you will hit limp mode if the transmission tries to shift after you hit rev limiter. So you must have a raised rev limiter to raise the upshifts. Now that's for drive. In auto stick, if you have auto upshift enabled, it will do the same thing. Now, if you have auto upshift disabled, this doesn't matter in auto stick. Now, if your car has auto upshift already, I don't know if unclicking the enable auto upshift will disable that. I think if your car already auto upshifts, then it's going to auto upshift no matter what. If your car, like the early like 05, 06, 07 cars, I think some of them didn't have the auto upshift stock. I think if you click the disable auto upshift, then it won't auto upshift. But if your car already has auto upshift, I think it has to have auto upshift. I don't know if the transformer will disable that. Here's some other options here. You can enable and disable this with the steering wheel controls. Imperial units, if you're in the US, you probably want that. I guess you could toggle that on so the steering wheel shifting is always on. From what I understand, even if you turn the transformer off with the ESP button, the steering wheel shift controls will still work. So if you're doing the paddle shifters like I did, even if you had the transformer shift kit on or off, the steering wheel controls will still work for shifting if you have it in an auto stick. And that's basically it. Main thing I just wanted to cover is how this works, and especially the scaling. Now you can do all this through the screen with your steering wheel controls, but again, you're going to be doing the 1-2 by itself, the 2-3 by itself under drive, and then you'll do the decelerating by itself one at a time. Then you have to do auto shift one at a time, and then you do scaling by itself, all individually through the screen. This is a much better option. Everything's laid out. You see everything you want. You know where you're at. I still am fiddling with this a little bit at a time just to get it perfect where I want it. Every car might be different. Like I said, my car's already got a tune, so it affects the shift pressures. If you have a Diablo and you enabled increased shift pressures, that's going to affect this. You maybe want a little less numbers if you have the shifting pressures increased with the Diablo. If you have a stock car, maybe the default settings will be fine. It just depends. But having this option through the PC just makes it way simpler. Now, I will say, once you get your base shift pressure set, being able to adjust through the dash does help with fine tuning one gear at a time. Say you got everything close and then you're like, I think my 3 to 4 could use more pressure, or my 1st to 2nd could use less. Adjusting through the dash with the steering wheel controls makes that nice that you can do just one gear and make a small adjustment every once in a while if you need to. Now we'll cover some of the steering wheel controls. Okay, hopefully you guys can see everything here. Now, in order to see the display, you want to have your radio on. And for me, I need to be in SAT in order to see. Now, transformer functions will show on the dash here. First thing we'll go over is the steering wheel shifting, since that's the main reason we put the transformer in the car, so we can have paddle shifters. And the way that works is the transformer allows the volume up and down to be shifting when in auto stick. So we have the paddles wired to the plus and minus on the steering wheel, and then when in auto stick with steering wheel shift enabled, the paddle shifters work as shifting. Now to disable that, if you want to turn it off, down in volume, and it says steering wheel shift off. To enable it, up in volume up. Steering wheel shift on. And from what I understand, even if you turn the transformer off with the ESP button, the steering wheel shift will still be enabled. Okay, so that's the steering wheel shift on and off. Now, some things work with the car on, not running. Some things work only with the car running and in drive. And then some things only work with the car running and auto stick. Steering wheel shift on and off works with just the car on. You can clear the check engine lights if you want. With ignition on, press the cruise stalk button in and just use the north button. And there it says clear cell. And if you press play button, clears the check engine light if you have one. You can also have an MDS indicator if you're still running MDS. Again, this is with the car on but not running. Cruise button in, press the north. There it says MDS with a Y, that means it's on. And if you push the play button, turns it off. And what that does is the security light will come on in the dash under your fuel gauge when the MDS is activated. If you don't want it, turn it off. Okay, a few other things. We have to have the car running. So we're going to start it. Okay, a couple things for the TCM. Now, if you want to reset the adaptives, say you've been driving for a while, the transformer feels like maybe the shifts aren't as strong as they were, it's getting kind of lazy, you can reset the adaptives. Now to do that, you're going to push down on the cruise stalk and flash the high beams. Reset adapters right there. Now, me personally, I like the option of killing the adapters so the TCM does not learn from your driving habits. It's going to stay what the transformer demands at all times. So to do that, we're going to pull the cruise stalk down and hold it, and then hold the high beam. Now it says advanced normal because I already had it on. So we're going to do it again and kill it. So cruise stalk down, hold the high beams for 3 seconds. Adaptive's killed. So now the TCM will not learn from your driving, and it'll always be what you have it set at. Okay, a few other things we can do. So press in on the on and off button on the cruise, press the north button. There, we have peak RPM, and what you can use that for is it's gonna record the peak RPM the transmission shifts at. So if you're adjusting your auto upshifts RPM, you would use that. 0 to 30 timer, 0 to 60 timer, 1/8 mile timer, 1/4 mile timer, trans temp. So if you're needing to add or fill transmission fluid, or you've changed a filter or pan or something, and you need to know the right level, you get you one of those cheap dipsticks with the reading and compare it to the temp, and that's how you get your fill level. Okay, now the fun stuff. In order to do the fun stuff, you have to have the transmission in drive and an auto stick. And you got line lock mode, burnout mode, and launch mode. Basically, line lock and burnout mode seem to do about the same thing. Launch mode is a little different. Let's explain the line lock. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to use the ABS pump to hold pressure to the front wheels, and then that allows no brake pressure on the rear, and there you go. Burnouts, as long as you want. Launch mode is same thing, except it holds all 4 wheels, the ABS pump does, so that you can get up on the converter if you want, and the car will stay still. And then you let go, and there you go, down the road. Now, I'd love to show you the line lock in burnout modes, and I tell you what, if I get 500 subscribers, I will gladly go out, use the line lock, and burn those Aturos off the back. But until then, that'll be it for this video. Now, I will say the controls that I've shown you are for specific 07 to 10 models. Things are a little different, 05 to 06 and 11 and up Challengers. Things are a little different there, but you can go to Z Automotive. They got a complete downloadable file that you can print out, and it explains everything from the installation to how things work for different models and stuff like that. So if you order one, get this, print it out. It'll show everything you need to show. That'll be it for this one. I just wanted to give you like a little down and dirty ins and outs of the Transformer. My new steering wheel should be here maybe tomorrow. So next video will probably be relocating the paddle shifters. Now, it won't be as in-depth as the 2-part series we did. So if you really want to know the basics of how to install the paddle shifters and then the wiring with the Transformer, go back and watch those. The next video I do with relocating them won't be as detailed, just because as far as installing, it's basically the same as what I already did. It's just a different position. Again, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, do all those YouTube things for me, and I'll see you on the next one.